Welcome to Revelstoke Responders. I'm here in the Discovery Center in Glacier National Park, and we are joined by Chris and Thomas. Thanks for joining us today, guys.
Good morning.
Morning.
Thanks for having us on.
Of course. No, thanks for letting me. What a beautiful spot. We're in the theater room of the Discovery Center. And before we get rolling, can you introduce yourselves kind of very quickly and your role with Parks Canada?
My name is Chris Goliath, and I'm the Visitor Safety Specialist up at Rogers Pass. So I coordinate the rescue program, and so that's training, that's avalanche forecasting. I help with that. We help with the bulletins for the public. And basically, if anybody gets hurt in the park, whether it's front country, back country, we're there to assist them. We predominantly focus on the back country, and it's an interesting job year round, from summertime mountaineering and hiking accidents, and then wintertime, Rogers Pass is kind of like a go-to spot for ski touring. So we get a lot of people through, and we have to manage that and the people that are in the park.
Of course. Perfect. Thomas.
And I'm Thomas, Park Warden with the national parks here. We do the law enforcement, so investigations, patrolling, acting as a witness, for court. It changes by the season, and we help support the other functions in the national park here in Mount Rev and Glacier. In the winter, it's very focused on the winter permit system. And then in the summer, we got a lot of visitation for campgrounds. And in the shoulder seasons, we've got other users in the park, but also around the park. So hunters on the border, people foraging, mountain biking, all that kind of stuff.
Perfect. And so you both live in Revelstoke. So before we get into the job and everything, why did you end up in Revelstoke?
Well, I was in the Bow Valley before I came to Revelstoke, and I've just always had a love of skiing. And knowing that the program for visitor safety, for avalanche control is so large and involved up at Rogers Pass, it was a natural draw. Plus, my wife and I were about to start a family, and I know the community. We had lots of friends already in Revelstoke. So it sort of seemed like we were moving into a prefab community with friends that were ready to go. And our kids are fully involved with many different activities, and it's a great place for them to grow up, and it's a great place for us to live, really.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah.
Thomas, what brought you here?
Yeah, the job brought me here. It's posted here. But funny enough, my partner and I, we were considering Revelstoke as somewhere to go for a winter season, because previous to this, I was just working seasonally. And funny enough, I got this job offer, and so came here, and I'd love to stay. It's a really awesome community, like Chris was saying, and there's just so much to do. And so far, loving Revelstoke.
Yeah, the Bow Valley seems like that's where I started, and then Revelstoke was a natural transition because it's a bit more sustainable, I would say. Perfect. Great. And before we dive again into the jobs too much, your own recreation, what do you guys like to do in the mountains or in around town?
I climb a lot.
Yeah.
I ski a lot, whether it's ski touring or Nordic or downhill up on the ski hill. Yeah, the winter, if I'm probably on skis 6, sometimes 7 days a week, it's just, I naturally love to ski. It's one of my favorite things, and I've loved to do that since being a child. And then, the climbing, the mountaineering, the mountain biking, if it's outdoors, there's a good chance I'd like to do that. My kids love to fish as well, so getting back into that, I grew up in Saskatchewan, so I know fishing.
Yeah.
So,
perfect.
Everything outdoors.
Yeah. Thomas?
Pretty similar, not to the same intensity as Chris, I'm sure. Like, yeah, skiing, like touring in the backcountry, mountain biking for sure. A little bit of fishing as well. Nordic skiing, been getting into that actually. It's a great way to stay fit and kind of enjoy like the outdoors after it gets dark, because in the winter it gets dark early, but some of the trails are lit up. So yeah, those are the main draws for me.
Perfect. And Revelstoke's a spot for it. And I like that fishing is like a nice rest day activity.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, you can kick the feet up a little bit.
Yeah.
Perfect. Perfect. So this podcast is all about sort of the first responders, and you guys both respond to incidents and things. And what drew you to the role, or how did you find yourself in these positions?
For myself, as a kid, my parents would take us to the mountains from Saskatchewan, and we spent a bit of time in Jasper. And I recall hiking up Old Fort Point, and there was a warden that was hiking up the trail there, and I was in awe. I was probably like 8 or 9 years old, and I saw this person walking up there in a Parks uniform, and I chatted with them a little bit, and I realized there's a job you can do in this park, and you can be on a trail. And as I got older, I became a lifeguard and realized that I really liked assisting people that were hurt, people that needed assistance. And it just kind of developed from that to like ski patrolling, to seeing lots of people in distress. And it kind of came back. I worked with BC Parks for a while, for 5 years in the Squamish area, and the position with Parks Canada opened up there, and I transferred onto that, and it's just been very satisfying to go out and help people. That's kind of what I love to do. And I think about, if somebody's having the worst day they've ever had in their life, they're 15, 20 kilometers away from the highway, and think, I could die. And you go in there and help them, and then 15 minutes later, they're at the side of the road, and we might be transferring to BC Ambulance, and they're like, thank you so much. And it's the smile, it's the handshake, it's helping out there, helping out families that, really appreciate you assisting them. I like to help people. I also love to recreate in the outdoors, so that's a big part of what the job is too. Like, we are out there every day in the winter, gathering snowpack information, chatting with the park visitors, and seeing what people are doing. So you can keep track of the trends and try and put that into the avalanche bulletin so that it's accurate and can prevent accidents from happening. So, I'd rather not respond to people getting hurt, injured, but we'll do it. But it's ways that we can work around to try and prevent that from happening. So, yeah, it's a very fulfilling job for sure.
Absolutely. What a combo, the ski and the assistance. Yeah. Perfect. Thomas.
Yeah, for me, like, always had a passion for law enforcement, like from a young age. But also at the same time, like, had a passion for the outdoors, and, did a school program in North Vancouver, which is like dedicated to guiding and like outdoor business sort of thing. And I was like, well, how can I combine these two? And out in Pacific Rim National Park Reserve, I met the Park Warden supervisor there at the time, and I was like, this is kind of a really great intersection of those two roles. And so from there, that's kind of how I started to pursue this line of work, just seeing how it went down out there on the west coast of Vancouver Island. And thankful to have done that so far.
Yeah, perfect. So maybe let's start with Park Warden, because I feel like it's a more of a simple answer, or maybe not, but if someone wanted to start from zero to become a Park Warden, what kind of steps would you recommend?
So for us, it does change, but basically the most standard thing is 2 years post-secondary education in a related field. So that could be biology, that could be like something to do with law enforcement, conservation, Indigenous studies, even communications could be along those same lines. You also need to have experience related to the field, so a field of work that is. So whether that's working as a park ranger with another jurisdiction, doing bylaw, or working in the biology field, one season, and then the next season you're ski patrolling and helping people out and doing paperwork. That's a big one.
Gotta like paperwork a little bit.
Yeah, it's definitely part of it. So if you can demonstrate that you've worked within a job that requires you to fill out certain forms and conduct investigations. So like for ski patrol, you're conducting collision investigations oftentimes. So that's part of it for a related role. Another thing you'd need basically is your basic first aid. You need to have taken your registered restricted firearms safety course. And yeah, those are the basic ones. I mean, there's some asset stuff to have, like, for here specifically, like if you have your avalanche safety training course, if you have experience operating snowmobile or ATV. Another basic one is you need to have your driver's license, your full driver's license.
That helps. Yeah.
I think there's an age thing too. Like,
gotcha.
I think you have to be 18 to apply. So yeah, from 0 to 100, that would be it. They work within like a best fit right now. So, your qualifications kind of will line up hopefully with location, and that's how they decide who's going to go where.
Gotcha. Yeah, different parks require different assets and skills, and
yeah,
for sure.
Like I can't operate a boat really to save my life. I'm okay at it, but if you grew up on the coast and you're really good at being on the water, then that might make more sense for the agency, right?
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Perfect.
And
if you can ski,
this
is a good place to be a park warden.
Yeah,
that's right.
As a warden, do you go touring a bunch for work, like on the job?
Not a lot. No. We do have to do like permit checks in the winter. And sometimes we'll go out with the like visitor safety crew to help with a rescue, but we're not really like stretching it that far in the winter. But yeah, I personally haven't done a lot of days on skis yet in the role.
Gotcha. And Chris, for someone starting from 0, how do they get to a visitor safety role?
Well, you gotta love the outdoors to start with.
Makes sense.
So yeah, just think about like the pyramid. You got to create like a really good base to start with. It's a question that I get quite often in the field of like, how did you get this job? And I often recommend be like, you need to have advanced first aid, like wilderness first aid. You would really benefit from ski patrolling, because ski patrolling, you're at the top of a mountain, accessing with a lift, and there's always lots of accidents. So being able to respond and treat and manage in like a hostile environment, then transporting people and then transferring on to a different agency, like to the ambulance or to fire department, depending on how busy they are, the agencies. But not only that, to be a visitor safety specialist, you also have to be a mountain guide. So you think about the terrain where people could have accidents. It could be somebody walking on a completely flat boardwalk, and they get their walking sticks caught in between the joints of boards there, and then they go down and they twist their knee. That's a really easy one. And then you could take it to somebody taking a really big lead fall and having multiple traumatic injuries on top of Sir Donald or something like that. So you need to be able to move through all terrain from super easy to super technical, and not just be able to move through it, but you have to be super efficient. You have to be able to identify what the hazards are, whether they're objective or subjective, and just be able to be efficient in getting in there, extracting the patient. And it can be involved with rope work where helicopter can't just get you there. And that's the other thing, is that we work closely with our rescue pilots. They do an amazing job. Like in my opinion, they're completely the unsung heroes, where they're getting us to this location. We're doing the easy thing of packaging somebody up and flying it and getting them ready to fly, but it's the pilot that's actually getting us there and doing the crazy flying in all sorts of conditions and getting us out. So yeah, like lots of first aid experience, lots of experience in the backcountry. Becoming a guide is essential to be a technical rescue leader. At Rogers Pass, we have, right now we have 3 mountain guides, myself included, that will lead the rescue program. But we also have our technicians, and they are like a super skilled group of folks, ranging from, like, I'd say probably 95% of our team have had experience as ski patrollers, but also they're outdoor enthusiasts that have done so much out there. A bunch of them have their own guiding certs as well, whether it's like the full ski program through the Association of Canadian Mountain Guides. Some of them have apprentice rock certifications as well. So we have like a diverse skill set. But then we do a bunch of standard training at the beginning of each season, whether it's summer or winter, and it's training that's directed towards that. So knowing, like for myself, it's my job to supervise. It's also my job to train and make sure that these people can move through this terrain. And if they can, we sign them off and say, great, you are a member of the rescue team that can respond to these types of incidents. And yeah, like I've got complete faith in the group that I work with. It's a team effort. It's not just one, but to get into this job, yeah, it's a lot of training. It's a lot of years of devoting yourself to always trying to strive to get the next certification. And yeah. Once you get there, there's still lots of learning to be done.
Always. Yeah, it's interesting. I wasn't sure, because I had read that you needed to be an ACMG guide, but I wasn't sure what level. And then, so the leadership are mountain guides, and then technicians can be a variety of.
Exactly.
Okay.
And to be a member of a technical rescue team, we have to take you out. Like, we have a full matrix of what we need from each team member. Each season, we need to be out alpine climbing in class 4, class 5 terrain. We need to be seeing people climbing to a certain standard as well, whether it's 5.7, 5.8, 5.9, plus just how keen people are. Like, some people will fill the boxes, but be like, yeah, I don't like climbing, but I sure do love mountain biking, or I love skiing, or, you see what the resources are and you allocate them appropriately of, who do you want in on the scene and who do you not want? Because the last thing we want to do is go to a technical rescue and all of us are scared.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's okay. It's okay to be scared, but you need to be able to work in those conditions and have a safe outcome as well. Because when people need assistance, we're the agency that they're calling for. So we have to be able to do that.
Right. So looking at tools of the trade and with the way technology is going, I heard you chatting earlier about drones. So is technology changing the shape of both of your roles? And in what way have you seen it change?
I mean, like, for one, social media has definitely changed the landscape. For us, like, folks are documenting their travels and documenting what exactly they're doing. And so, that's great, because we can kind of figure out like some trends of where the issues are, who's doing what. We can conduct an investigation, with the great launch point from like a social media post. That being said, though, it does complicate things because, it's a new form of, like evidence to work with, and it has to be backed up by other like concrete forms of evidence. So that's a new technology for our field. We were talking about drones. I personally haven't had experience with the use of drones in the national parks, but obviously those present like really, really key capabilities for us as law enforcement. When we have a closure and it's not safe for us to enter, we can run a drone in and see who's in there, and that video can work as evidence for us. And yeah, all kinds of different types of, functions for other people too, right? Like for visitor safety, I'm sure, for assets to check on the condition of buildings or trails or mounds, when we're talking about like avalanche defenses. So
Yeah.
I'm sure you'd have more use for drones.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and the drone program is kind of just getting up and running within our program, and it's pretty exciting we've used drones very limited to look at, doing a downed avalanche survey of like, so we just have a huge storm come through, and lots of avalanches have reached sort of down into the run out zones, but it'd be nice to know how big these avalanches were, going to the side of them and putting a drone up and doing a survey, and tracking it to see, then you get an idea of what the mass is, the volume. Then you can look up on the mountainside and see what the fracture zone or what the fracture lines are. And, okay, well, you can estimate, say 50% of the start zones have been triggered, and this is how far it's gone. That's a really interesting and new part, and it's being studied by various researchers within the snow avalanche field, but also for like a search and rescue perspective. Say somebody goes in the river just upstream, and you want containment, but you want the containment downstream. You haven't seen them yet, but where are they? Being able to put a drone up in the air and just fly it right over top of the river, and looking down, you can track them and find them and figure out where's the best place on the riverside to get to and go and get them. Same thing, summertime, wintertime, looking for folks that are missing, lost, putting the heat sensor lenses onto the drone and flying up a valley there, and you get a heat signal right away. Be like, there they are.
Wow.
It'd be pretty neat. And this is stuff that's new to us that we're going to be working with. But as far as other technology, we've been working with VESON for like remote sensing of downed avalanches or when avalanches are being detected. So we've got all sorts of arrays throughout the park. What have we got? I'm not good with all the acronyms. That's something that I leave to the senior avalanche forecasters. But we're getting more and more data that is being thrown to us at real time, so that we can accurately figure out when the peak of the storm is and when the avalanches are occurring. When is the best time to go out and shoot at them and get as much snow down to the edge of the road, but not blocking the road, so that at the end of it all, we close the road for, say, an hour or 2 hours or 3 hours versus having it closed for 24 to 48 hours. It just speeds up. What we want to try and do is keep the public moving through here safely. We don't want traffic backing up underneath avalanche paths. It's just dangerous to the public, and that goes against what the Parks Canada values are. We really want them to be safe, and that's we're talking visitor safety. It's in my job title, so it's kind of paramount. So yeah, the technology is super important, but at the same time, what I try and warn people about is like, become familiar in what the base is that you need to be able to use. In the backcountry, for example, if everybody's just using a mapping app on their phone and their phone dies and they didn't bring a battery backup, and they're lost and they don't know how to use a map and compass, simple things like that. And even not a map and a compass, but just looking around at your surroundings and like landmarks and like, I know where that is. I can, geo-position myself from my own brain, my own computing of where I am in the mountains here. And not to become too reliant upon technology, but also embracing the changes and how it can open up new opportunities as well. I think it's exciting.
As a user of the pass, I mean, it's been great even having cameras available at certain peaks, and you can see what conditions are, and it really helps
Very
with
much.
forecasting your day and forecasting what's available. And then the winter permit system is so good with giving you that heads up about closures and what's coming the day of, and allowing people to know that the terrain that they're recreating in is safe, or is as safe as the backcountry can be, and is being monitored by professionals like yourselves. So do you think, we mentioned it very quickly, but how crucial has that been for prevention, which is probably something that you really want to focus on to prevent these before you have to react to any incidents?
I think it gives a good idea for the public. I mean, who doesn't go online if they're going up to the ski hill and they want to check and see, well, how much is on the snowboard? Is Norm the Gnome buried or not? Well, same thing. We've got the Fidelity webcam, and is it 20? Is it 30? Is it 40 centimeters? And the more familiar you become with it, and the more you ski at Rogers Pass, you'll recognize, be like, oh, they got 30 on the board there. There's a good chance that the permit areas are going to be closed. What's going to be open? What are my options? People will be, if they're familiar with this zone, they'll recognize, well, one area that they could go up would be the Connaught drainage up behind the Rogers Pass Discovery Center. But they also recognize that we really stress that is a firing zone. It's every, you take every 100 meters, you're exposed to another avalanche path. And if we know that there's a big storm cycle, that there's lots of avalanches coming down, we can hopefully prevent people from coming up. If we can get the bulletin out, in the evening before, and, just stress of like, if we get more snow than was forecasted, expect hazard to go, shooting through the roof, for example. Maybe it's best to go to the ski hill, go to an area where it's controlled, and just prevent those people from coming out, prevent people getting caught in avalanches. And, the same thing works for the summer too. The webcams are still up. People can see what the conditions are. Is today a good day to go up, Sir Donald? And we're like, no, there's some fresh snow dusting there. No, I think maybe I'll stay in the valley and go on crag. So it's hard to put a number on that prevention.
Of course.
I don't know, maybe 100 people could have come up and gotten in an accident, and they all decided, well, we'll go crag in the valley instead because it's inclement weather up high in the mountains. So I think it helps. It just gives more information to the people and helps them make the correct decision as well.
And something that I don't think a lot of people may be aware of, but you mentioned shooting the avalanches. Can you in layman's term describe the howitzer program or the?
Yeah. Well, we have a winter permit system, which, we use the wardens to enforce it. We use visitor experience to help educate, external relations, same thing. Like they're pumping out, social media messaging. The way the program works is we've got set gun positions along the highway within the national park. And with that, we've got data that dates back over 60 years. So we know exactly where the start zones are and from where those guns are being fired. And so we have a partnership with the Department of National Defense. And each winter for 5.5 to 6 months, there will be a unit of the artillery up here stationed. And so they're here 24 hours a day. They're here 7 days a week. We can go out in any weather, any time of day, and go to those gun positions once the road is closed and we've insured, we've swept it, there's nobody in there. The winter permits are closed, so we know nobody is out and about because the Army will not shoot if we know that there's people up on the mountainside, and we wouldn't want to do that
Of course,
either.
yeah,
So
yeah.
that's why it's important
Yeah.
that people follow the permit system, that we can ensure nobody's there, so we can efficiently go out and shoot it and open it back up. But yeah, just to back up, essentially we're firing the shells from the howitzer up to these start zones, and we're not doing it to make it safe for the backcountry touring person. We're shooting that to ensure that we've removed enough snow off the mountainside that avalanches are going to come down, but hopefully they're not going to hit the highway. And if
Right.
they hit the highway, they might hit vehicles, causing accidents, traffic backing up into other avalanche paths, which could then fall down as well. So yeah, layman's terms, we try and bring down as much snow as possible to the highway, but not blocking the highway. You know, that's the best, when we can bring this big wall of snow down right to the edge of the road there. And then once that's all wrapped up and we deem that we've knocked enough snow down, we hand it back over to the highways folks that, plow and sand and keep it safe for the public to go through. And in addition to that, we also coordinate with CP Rail.
Right.
Because they have their line running through as well. So we have to coordinate with them that there's no trains going through when we're bringing down avalanches also. So yeah, we work closely with them and with highways and with the province on either side, because they're also doing avalanche control east and west of Rogers Pass. So it all has to be coordinated well. The last thing you want to do is, hold traffic for 4 hours. And once we're done our section, we're like, all right, they're into your zone, we're done. They're like, thanks guys. Now we've got our own headaches. So yeah, it's working with all the different organizations and agencies. So does that
That was a great answer. Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, again, I think when you hear about the blasting and everything, everyone's like, oh, it's for recreationists, but we have the Trans-Canada Highway and a major rail lines running through a massive national park.
Yeah.
And to keep that running and safe is paramount to everything.
That's the goal. And, just to enforce it or ensure that people understand and be like, oh, it was shot yesterday, it's absolutely fine. It's like, no, we may have shot 2 of those start zones, but it could be a huge bowl, huge basin, and 3 other start zones have not been gone. And I mean, people will tour up, say, McGill Shoulder and then Ski Camp West. That's a pretty popular objective. Or NRC Gully on McDonald Shoulder, or Avalanche Crest. They'll see what's been shot, or they'll see the fracture lines. Okay, great. There's no snow there, but there's snow in the next bowl right over there. And they ski that. That wasn't shot by us. So we're not doing it for the public to go ski tour safely. We're doing it for the road level.
Of course.
Yeah.
To slow things down, could we talk about what a day in the life looks like when you come to work, and sort of an average day without any major incidents or anything, what your 9 to 5 looks like?
Yeah, I mean, for us, like, the first step is to don your equipment, your personal protective equipment, sign on with our dispatch and start the truck, clear the truck of snow in the winter. Like, that takes a minute for sure. Like, you're waiting for calls to come in, certainly from the public or from other staff, but you're also conducting your own proactive patrols, maintaining equipment, moving equipment around to get it ready for a patrol tomorrow, let's say, doing our paperwork. So, like, investigations, writing incident reports. There's a lot of data that we track on, like, how much time we're spending doing what, because we have an obligation to fulfill to the national park field unit here, and so those parameters we track, and so we can tell folks, like, oh, this is how much we were spending patrolling this area, because this is a high priority for this park. Obviously, if there is a call of assistance or call to service that comes in, we go and respond to that accordingly. And yeah, that's like the average day.
Yeah. And you patrol both Glacier and Revelstoke National Parks?
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah. So try to address the priorities, according to the season. So in the winter, obviously, it's a lot of focus up in Glacier for Rogers Pass for the winter permit system. And there's not really a lot open in Mount Rev in the winter, but, in the summer, there's equal recreational draws, and their highways it's always going to be busy.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, try to split the time that whatever makes sense for that time of year.
Yeah. Chris, what's a day in the life look like for visitor safety?
Well, I'd split it between winter and summer. In the winter, we're like busy little beavers. So the second we get up here, somebody's out gathering the weather data, somebody's online getting, putting together our morning meeting, because we always have to have like a safety meeting first thing in the morning to identify what our hazards are for the day, what our objectives are for the day. And it's always going to be, there will be a field team going out somewhere, whether it's in one of the prohibited areas, which, we've sort of cordoned off so that we can do our snow safety or our snow science without any interference or what would be the right word for that? Basically the public going in and changing what the snowpack is like. We want to have a snowpack that has not been touched by the public, so we can just track it from the beginning of the winter to the end of the winter and see how it's metamorphizing naturally.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so we'll be gathering the data. We'll be creating our objectives either the night before or that morning. Then a safety briefing, and then it's out the door. And typically, when we're out the door in the field, it's go, have a snack while you're on the go, reporting every couple hours back into the base, just what the conditions are, what we're observing. Is it what we thought that we were going to see? Are there any notable changes? There will be forecasters that will be on the highway that will be going back and forth throughout the day, monitoring any natural avalanches that will be occurring at the highway or from start zones that affect the highway. And the whole time, we're also aware that a call could come in, that somebody's been caught in an avalanche, somebody's injured, somebody's lost, in which case we kind of have to triage where we are, what's going on. There could be a accident on the road that could be backing up traffic into avalanche paths. Do people need to come out from the field to assist with that? So it's a mixed bag, but it's, from the start. And then at the end of the day, we come back together, make sure the public avalanche bulletin is written for the area, do our briefing at the end of the day, what we saw, what's coming up, what we are expecting, and make plans accordingly, and just sort of project the next 24 to 72 hours of what to do. And if we see a big storm coming, it's getting all our ducks in the row of what agencies need to be notified. Are we going to be closing the highway to do avalanche control? In which case, we're contacting the cities of Revelstoke and Golden, CP Rail, our partners, MOTI with the province, like the Ministry of Transportation. So it's busy throughout the winter, and it's quite varied. Mm-hmm. You never know what drainage you're going to be going into. You never know if there's going to be an accident that you're going to be responding to. So it's kind of nice that way.
Yeah.
It's quite varied. And summertime, it's not as intense, but at the same time, we have to be on top of our training for technical rescue. So there will be lots of high angle rescue training, lots of first aid training, familiarizing yourself with the park of, if somebody calls in and says somebody's injured at the Broken Bridge Trail, and you're like, Broken Bridge Trail, where is that? We need to be able, at the top of our head, be able to have quick access of I know where that is. I know where that hotspot is. paint that picture in your mind as you're gathering information to go and respond to that. So yeah, summertime. We also do a lot of maintenance on the infrastructure that we've got built around here, whether it's our remote stations, our telemetry, like a savage winter of, several meters, so thousands of centimeters being dumped on top of all this equipment. It needs to be maintained. So we're maintaining it, or we're taking it offline. In the summer, like thunderstorms, lightning can, detrimentally impact a lot of our telemetry. So a lot of that stuff gets taken offline. It's no matter summer or winter, it's quite varied. So yeah, but once again, if a call comes in, kind of drop everything and then respond to emergency. And in recent years with wildfires, we've had difficulty finding helicopters because they're out and about fighting fires. Like it's a issue that's ongoing throughout all the national parks, all the mountain parks, of like being able to respond because there's a lot of things going on.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you both have already sort of answered it, but what's the best part of your job?
Yeah, I mean, like, best part's just getting out into those nooks and crannies that most people will never get to go check out. Not to say that it happens often, but patrolling the backcountry's got to be definitely high on the list for me personally. And just, interacting with the public, honestly, it's very rewarding. Like, folks have spent a lot of time, planning their trip to these like nationally significant locations, and they're super excited. They, a lot of times they've spent a lot of money like trying to come out and visit. And so just answering questions, like, it's pretty rewarding. Like, people are very thankful for something as simple as, where is the washroom? Like, yeah, it's just those little things as well. Certainly like a really good part of the role. People are on vacation or they're going out for a sick, like, ski tour day. So yeah,
everyone's happy in a national park.
Well, not everybody.
For the most part.
For the most part, yes.
Yeah.
And for you, Chris, I mean, I think you already answered it, but
yeah, I mean, it's the camaraderie amongst the team. Like, we've just got an awesome team that we work with, and you've got your friends at home, but the colleagues that you work with when you're in the backcountry, you just develop a different friendship with them as well. So it's a great environment to work in. But to echo what Thomas is talking about with the public, same thing. You like sharing the stoke of the people that are here, because they've traveled from all the corners of the globe to come and check out this little nook that's been protected for Canada as an example of like beautiful mountain landscape and the cultural significance of this area. It's neat to share that with people, and people ask you questions and I might not necessarily be able to answer, but then it's kind of neat to go and find the person within Parks Canada that can answer that, and they explain it and you're like, I didn't know that. Oh, that's a pretty cool history. Yeah, I mean, I've had just amazing days skiing and climbing. Some of the days that really stand out for me as well are, when you've pulled off a miraculous rescue and those folks are just like giving you a high five at the end. You're like, oh, I'm so glad we were able to get you out and we didn't have to huddle, on some, forsaken ledge and freeze our butts off all evening. We're like, right on. We got out, everybody's safe. And, even the times where people, it's not a happy outcome. Being able to bring that closure to families as well is pretty significant. If it happens for me, I hope somebody would be able to, assist me and my family as well. So it's nice to be there.
Perfect. Have you noticed any misconceptions about your roles that get brought up to you from the public or from,
For sure. So like prior to 2009, Park Warden service was a generalist role. And so all the functions that now have like specialties, so, visitor safety, fire, their law enforcement, what else? Trails, maybe, like,
It was a one hat fits
it was
all.
kind of a one hat
Yeah.
fits all type
Yeah.
of deal. And so, and the wildlife response sort of folks as well, like it was an all-encompassing role. And then, so we're now specialized in law enforcement, specifically designated as peace officers in the definition of the criminal code. So I guess the biggest misconception a lot of folks have is, oh, you're still doing the everything role. Like, what are you specializing in? And it's, well, we're specialized in law enforcement now. And that would be the biggest misconception, I'd say, for us. But like, you got really talented folks that used to wear that warden hat that are now doing these really important specialty roles. And not a lot of people know that, that it's been so, specialized.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. I didn't know that prior to 2009. That's what it looked like. If you were Park Warden, you checked a lot of boxes, I guess. Yeah, that was great. Anything that you've run into in your career?
That were fun hogs.
Well, I think I believe that. So.
That, definitely folks are like, wow, I wish I could have your job. You just get to go and play outside all the time and not really have to work. But the truth is, I've chosen to have a job in the outdoor industry. I've chosen to be out there, and those days where it's like minus 0.5 and it's sleety, snotty elephant goop kind of thing coming down on you, and you're 4 meters into a snowpack, like a profile, and you're like, oh man, this is horrible. You go out in the sunny days, you go out in the crummy days, but you're always going out, and you have those objectives, and you're bringing back information. And we do work hard, and I love the up as much as I love the down. And, sure, I might get an amazing powder run in there, but at the end of the day, I'm taking that information and I'm putting it into an avalanche bulletin that's going to benefit the public as well. So yeah, there's amazing fun parts of the day. But like when you're dealing with the paperwork and that kind of stuff, the paperwork is there every day as well. So we have to equally focus on all the different components. So, we're misconceptions. They can keep those misconceptions.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, you're coming down a trail and it's like, oh my goodness, this is your work. You get to do this every day. This is awesome. It's like, well, not every day for me, and it's not always awesome.
Yeah.
Like you were saying, crummy weather or piece of equipment breaks on you or whatever. But yeah, you definitely see that when you're out and about. People are like, whoa, how do I get to do that?
Yeah.
And they're only seeing the 2% of your day that's you skiing down a run where you've just spent hours doing X.
Yeah.
Having your one granola bar.
That's fine. I mean, people can see that and see us out having fun. I don't mind that. I love seeing people out there having fun as well. Yeah. But just don't steal my line. If I'm digging that hole, going, and somebody follows their track up, they're like, hey, they're still digging. We can poach their line and be like, urgh.
Yeah. That's when you call Thomas.
Yeah.
And
Well, that'd be a bit of abuse of the power.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, this has been great. My one wrap-up question is, if you could be a member of another first responding service, what do you think you would lean towards?
Oh, that's a good question. Probably something to do with either policing or something to do on the other end of, like rescue or, avalanche technician type role.
Stay outside.
Or just go full in on the law enforcement end of things. Yeah.
Perfect. Chris?
Uh, I have found the perfect job. Honestly, like I wouldn't want to change anything. Like I'm really, really stoked in what I do. But that being said, I have so much respect for all the other different disciplines for first responding. Like, the ambulance, it's like, I know I feel such a relief when I see the ambulance roll in and be like, oh, okay, now we can hand off the patient to a higher level of care. That kind of training and becoming more proficient would be amazing. I did do the fire training, because when I came into the program, I went through the warden training as well. Like I came in 2007. And so, I got myself beat up quite a bit at RCMP Depot, but I also did the wildfire training, and we did the wildlife stuff, and we did all sorts of vegetation monitoring. So I got to see the full spectrum. I don't mind any of those different roles. And to be honest, the role that I do, we still do assist with other avenues. Like we'll still be assisting with like wildlife human conflict. We'll be helping out as best we can. Like we're not holding the firearm anymore. We used to, but that's been phased out for my department. For law enforcement, we'll come and help out. Like I've done my fair share with BC Parks as a park ranger, and at the start of my career with Parks Canada as well. So I understand what they do, and just trying to be available to help support them.
Yeah, I mean, you folks are actually out there
Yeah.
most of the time, and they're like the key witness to somebody being in somewhere they shouldn't be or doing something they shouldn't be. So yeah, taking those notes down and then being able to testify as a witness or whatnot, like that's part of the law enforcement mandate, but you're not necessarily working in that role. So that is like a really nice part about this agency, is you get to kind of help other functions out and kind of do a lot of different things. Keeps it pretty versatile.
Yeah.
We specialize, but at the same time, we still are generalists, because we all have to work as a team to make everything happen within Parks Canada. It's not just one department doing everything. It's everybody working together to, do a good job for the public and present, the protected areas in the way that they should be.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's a perfect way to end, guys.
Right.
Thank you very much for your time. Big thanks to Parks Canada for allowing us to sit down, and a big thank you again.
Thanks,
Thank
Tom.
you.
Perfect.